Welcome again, viewers. Thank you for joining me again. And today, I'm going to talk once again about the push for peace and not war. Push for peace, not war. It is time for peace. And I'll be making references to some recent comments by military generals, by some politicians, and leaders of several countries at the recently concluded United Nations General Assembly. Um, I will start with Henry Kissinger because I think he was the first person, maybe not, but when he made this statement, it was all over the media, the press, and television. At Davos, I think earlier this year at Davos, um, sometime in summer, I believe. If I'm not, I can't remember 100%. He suggested that Ukraine should be prepared to trade land for peace. And at the time, Donbass region was not completely, um, well, still not completely, or maybe I should say Lugansk. Most of all of Donbass, none of the regions was completely controlled by Russia and allied forces, militia forces. It was widely condemned by many. A few months later, the former Chief of General Staff of United Kingdom Armed Forces, General Lord Richard Donat, anyway, Lord Donat, stated that Ukraine should be looking for a peaceful negotiations with Russia. And I remember it said clearly on Sky News that it does not see how Ukraine will completely dislodge Russia out of Ukraine. I mean Ukraine armed forces out of the eastern region of Ukraine without Russia actually going voluntarily. And it does not see them going voluntarily. At the same time, it does not see NATO forces intervening or joining forces with Ukraine armed forces to be physically involved, directly involved in the armed conflict. Again, the same thing was said by General Michael Mullen, the former chief of joint, the former chairman of joint chief of staff of the American Armed Forces. That's a bit of a tongue twister. He suggests also, or he made a statement that the Biden administration and the president should tone down their utterances so that there will be a room for Ukraine to be able to negotiate. And I think the same thing has been said by uh, the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban. Although I don't always agree with him, but on this issue, I seem to have agreed with him because he made a number of statements. He basically said the sanctions are not working. It is affecting European countries more, or if not as much at the best as much as Russia. And he saw no point in punishing someone only to punish yourself also. It doesn't make any sense. However, NATO seems to have invested. NATO and other countries that the 50 or so countries that are in the contact group, they seem to have invested so much in the conflict that an off ramp is almost impossible to find. And according to recent comment of the NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, he basically said an Ukrainian defeat is a NATO defeat, which, in my opinion, is highly inflammable because what he is trying to do there is to make it really almost impossible for NATO countries to be wanting Ukraine to go to negotiating table. And I believe the president of France, Macron, earlier or a few months ago was trying to push for peace. And I think most the well the the orcs within the alliance or seems to be seems to have prevailed. He also said something like sooner or later the two countries must talk peace. And I believe Ukraine will have started to negotiate with Russia by now, if not for the assurances, or well, I'm not sure, but people said the former UK Prime Minister and probably the some of the people in the President Biden's administration encourage Ukraine not to make any peace deal with Russia, which I think is a mistake because sooner or later they have to make peace. What many of these countries seem to have forgotten is Russia is not Iraq. Russia is not Afghanistan. Russia is not Libya. The country might not be as rich as many countries in the West, but when it comes to military strength, is equally as rich militarily. And I know deep down inside, NATO or the United States know they cannot militarily defeat Russia, and Russia cannot militarily defeat Russia. Defeat United States. Should both go head to head, I can see a scenario of mutual destruction, which is not gonna be pleasant for everyone living in the work on Earth. Privately, many of these generals in NATO, according to some reports, holds the view that Ukraine will never defeat Russia on the battleground, but they just want to keep going for some time so that the stockpile of Russian armament will be reduced, and then they will now encourage Ukraine to make peace, which again doesn't make any sense because somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's wife, someone's sister, someone's mom, grandmother, aunts are being killed every day. All for what? For some kind of political games? Is it really worth it? Bring people's lives? I don't think so. Okay, some will ask why can't Russia stop? Russia has made it clear time and time again they are willing to negotiate or talk about peace. Okay, they both have their own red line, but at least they should try and start somewhere and then see where they end up. Oh, I don't know. It's getting really horrible. It is horrible, but it just gets keep on. It's getting really disgusting. The whole thing. For anyone to argue or expect that Russia will be defeated on the battlefield, the person is not being realistic. The leaders from 66 countries at the recently concluded United Nations General Assembly called for peaceful negotiations to end the conflict. And according to one leader, he said that from his country, I will quote what he said, our public opinion does not see the Ukraine war the same way it is seen in the north, that is in Europe, unquote. There are, there are other wars around the world that people are dying, but it's not been given half the attention as the war in Ukraine has been given. And according to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, he said, we want the war to end. We want end of Russian-Ukraine war due to sanctions and counter-sanctions. The entire mankind, women and children, is being punished. It puts the lives and livelihoods of millions of people of all nations in greater risk and infringes their human rights. People are deprived of food, shelter, healthcare, and education. Their future, especially children, sinks into darkness. What this person was arguing was basically the effect, the economic effect is being felt all over the world. People that were already poor are even getting more desperate. People are losing their home because they cannot pay rent, because there's no job, or because of the knockdown effect of the war. And according to the Emir of Qatar, delay negotiations will only bring more death and suffering. And the Congolese president said this, that the nations fanning the flame are demonstrating vanity of the powerful and closing door to dialogue. All wars finish around the table of negotiations. Nelson Mandela said, peace is a long way. It's a long road, but it has no alternative. It has no price. You cannot put a price on human life, on children, on both sides being killed. Children are being killed in Donbass, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and children are being killed in Kharkiv, Kiev, and several other parts of Ukraine. So, what price are you put on their lives? What games are we playing? In reality, the Russians and the Ukrainians have no other choice but to take this path, the path to peace, the path of peace. Please, if you like this video, press the like button. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can subscribe. It costs nothing also. Stay safe and keep spreading peace. Let us all fight for peace. Let peace reign. God bless us all.